Chapter 11, A Ryotei is a Place of Intrigue. While they were chatting, Baragaru and Sena came across a street lined with shops selling luxury goods. If they were going to the Hunting Adventurers Guild, they would have just crossed the street, but this time they continued along the street and turned into a small side street. A dead end. There's a gap at the end big enough for one person to pass through. A little way back there was a hedge that jutted out from the other side, and they made their way in a zigzag pattern. It looked like some kind of hideaway, but when the hedge ended there was an archway in a slightly open space. The arch was made of wooden pillars and a transom woven from a bamboo-like plant, probably a type of magic tree. To Sena, it felt familiar. You said it was a nice place, so it's a bit of a hidden inn. Feeling the mysterious atmosphere, as they passed through the arch, he saw a staircase leading underground in front of him, which he descended following Baragaru. What is this? For a moment, Sena had the illusion that he had returned to Earth. When he went down into the basement, he found himself in a hall designed to resemble an old wooden Japanese restaurant. Welcome. The two women at the counter bowed deeply to Baragaru. They were wearing traditional Japanese kimono, hakama, and a large maid-like apron, giving them a Taisho-era feel. What do you think? It could be a coincidence, but it's definitely a design you won't see in this town. And the writing on the lantern. Is it funny? The lanterns, made of thin wood and covered with cloth, had the name of the shop written in small, cursive letters. It was not a large signboard for advertising, but rather gave the impression of a hidden inn that did not welcome first-time customers, like a long-established high-class restaurant, with a sense of refinement and modesty. Please take this one. Two other women came from the back, holding costumes in their hands, and dressed Baragaru and Sena in slightly long, white happy coats with a navy blue striped pattern. After getting dressed, the four of them saw them off, and they headed to the end of the hall. It seemed to be a gate for spiritual thread teleportation, and a moment later, in front of them was a 3-story wooden building that looked very similar to an old Japanese inn, lit up with many lanterns hanging from it. It's quite a nice atmosphere, isn't it? Indeed, as Baragaru said, the scenery floating in the sunset deep in the woods was a landscape that seemed even more otherworldly than the rest of this strange world. The Japanese-style scenery in particular gave Sena an even more unfamiliar feeling. This feels really weird. It's kind of creepy. Maybe I've been abducted by a god or something. This city was often built with stone quarried from underground, and although some parts used materials from magic trees, he had never seen an entirely wooden structure. It has a certain charm. That's true. But what do you think of this design? There's not enough information right now. Maybe there are cities with a similar design on other continents, and buildings are made with materials that are easily available in the area, so it's possible that the design could be similar depending on the building materials used. Well, I guess that's the more reasonable way to think about it. This planet was probably several hundred light years away from Earth. It was impossible for humans from Earth to have traveled to space and come to Renza. It was more reasonable to think that the designs were coincidentally similar. Come on, it's time to go in. Urged by Baragaru, Sena followed him. At that moment, Sena felt something touch his face, and he felt a slight tingling sensation, like static electricity. He reflexively visualized the magical energy and tried to figure out what it was. Maybe it's some kind of sensor? It doesn't seem to be harmful, though. What emerged from there was something resembling a spider web woven with magical threads. It was hanging down around Sena's face, but Baragaru, who was walking in front of him, didn't seem to notice. They are posted here and there. Maybe there's some kind of sensor. Maybe it's some kind of warning device because it's a place like this. However, it would be creepy to get caught like that, so he easily avoided it and moved forward. Welcome, please come in. Once he entered, he was greeted by hostesses in the spacious entrance hall. Here you take off your shoes and change into indoor shoes. Sena had seen it before, without Baragaru explaining. He took off his sandals and put on the slippers that were lined up. The waitress took his sandals and carried them away. Please come this way. Led by the hostess, Baragaru and Sena followed her into the back room. The inside of the building also feels like an old, traditional Japanese inn or restaurant. But even so, avoiding the occasional magic sensor, He climbed the stairs and headed to the top floor. I can sense the presence of people, but why haven't we passed any other customers, let alone any employees? The structure of the building is designed so that you never pass anyone else. Perhaps it's to create the feeling that you're the only ones in the building, but in any case, it's to make it feel special and out of the ordinary. There are times when you don't want people to see each other. After all, I see, so that's what it's used for. Sana was also involved with Sito and Eri, so he had experience being invited to places that required high levels of secrecy. As they walked from the main building through the corridor to the detached building built on the cliff, he could see several corridors and the detached buildings connected to them. It seems like a pretty good place, but is it okay to treat me? It was clear that they were being shown to a special room. There were likely guest rooms in the main building, but they were being taken to a separate building, so there was no doubt about that. I hope this doesn't add to my debt. I really hope that's not the case. At the end of the corridor, they took off their slippers at the wide step and went up to the anteroom. Tatami, right? Tatami. Both Sana and Nayuta stopped thinking. Yeah, this feels good. The look and feel of the tatami were just like real tatami. If he had any complaint, the only thing that was different was the smell. He was impressed by the feeling after such a long time. Please wait inside. The hostess knelt down and opened the sliding door. Hey, sorry to keep you waiting. Baragaru entered the room, greeting the occupant casually. Is anyone else here? Baragaru-san seems to be on friendly terms with them. He bowed slightly to the hostess and entered the room, which was a Japanese-style room about 10 tatami mats in size. The moment he turned toward the person sitting at the sunken kotatsu table in the center. Boo-hoo. If he had had anything in his mouth, it would have been a disaster, with liquids spraying out of his mouth and nose. The moment he saw the woman's face, Sana couldn't help but burst out laughing.
What?
What's wrong, kid? No. Nothing. Sana was desperately trying to hold back his laughter. Ha 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 ha.
What?
What's that weird face? It's so weird. Nayuta was laughing out loud in his head, completely thwarting Sana's efforts. But that couldn't be helped. After all, the woman's face had swirls on her cheeks, large, unnaturally drawn eyelashes, the character for meat written on her forehead, and a moving Kaiser mustache. If you were to see that on first sight, it would be impossible to resist. At that moment, Sana felt something was off. Baragaru remained calm in the face of such a bizarre sight. No way. Sana immediately released the magical energy from his vision. Sure enough, the gag makeup had vanished, revealing a beautiful face. But it was already too late. Ha 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 ha. The woman's expression turned into a nasty smile. Ugh. That smile was far more sinister than the comedy makeup from earlier. It was almost evil, as if Eri were up to some evil scheme. Something tells me it's over. As Nayuta's laughter echoed in his head, Sana gave up thinking. Come on, young man. Don't just stand there, come in. It was a beckoning to hell. The reason I brought you here today was to introduce you to this. Sana sighed softly as he entered the room as Baragaru told him to. As the hostess quietly closed the sliding door behind him, Sana felt as if he was locked in a cage with a wild animal. Of course, that wasn't just his imagination.